Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining Encore Palm Beach County for today's special event, How Small Businesses Leverage the Wisdom and Experience of Mature Workers. We are happy to be presenting our programming this year again on the third Wednesday of the month. And we have some wonderful programs lined up, so be sure to read your newsletters, visit the website, and we'll be sharing all the information with you. And without further ado, I'd like to bring on our human resource specialist, Karen Roberts, to introduce our special guest. Karen?
Thank you, Christine. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. And I am very excited as part of the Encore Palm Beach County Board to be presenting to you today two panelists who their organizations you'll hear about, of course, throughout our time together, were nominees for our very first ever inaugural Wisdom and Experience Works for Business Award held in October of this past year, and they were nominated in the small business category. Small businesses, but doing great things. So I'm going to ask both our panelists, we have John and Janice, to tell us a little bit about themselves and the business that they are representing today and their role. And so may we begin with you, John, please.
Sure. Thank you, Karen, and thank you, Christine and Rosemary, and excited to be here with Janice. And my name is John Imperatore. I'm the owner and operator of Seniors Helping Seniors, serving Delray, Boynton, and Lake Worth. And we are a home care agency, and we provide a wide range of non-medical services, non-medical companion services for seniors who need a little help so they can live the life they deserve. We've learned that too many seniors are underserved and they're stuck aging alone, and it doesn't really have to be this way. So what we do is we go and recruit active seniors, people with a lot left to give, who are interested in helping other seniors, and we match up the clients based on their needs with the companions that we have on staff. And in doing so, we bring two seniors together who form a bond and learn to work together. And so one senior gets a little help getting their needs met, and they find a new friend, and the other senior finds meaningful work and they find a new friend, and that's our win-win.
Thank you, John, and welcome. I know you've shared with us how loyal mature caregivers are with little absenteeism or call-offs, and the services that they provide and the companionship they provide to the clients is heartwarming, and I know we're going to ask you to share a little bit more about that in a further question. So again, welcome. And at this point, I'd like to ask Janice. Welcome, Janice. If you could please introduce yourself, tell us a bit about your business and your role.
Thank you, Karen. My name is Janice Egan. I'm the Human Resources Director for Plastridge Insurance. We are located in Delray Beach, along with offices in Boca Raton, Palm Beach Gardens, and Stewart. We were founded in 1919 and have been serving South Florida since then. We offer insurance coverages along the lines of the commercial lines, personal lines, and employee benefits.
Wonderful. Well, welcome, Janice. And I know when you and I chatted at a previous time, you told us about one of your employees, a mature employee at 88 years young, still working 40 hours a week. And she chose to work 4 10-hour days. So she's obviously very passionate about the work that you all do. So
she's amazing. She's been with us for 35 years. So she was hired in her 50s and just had her 35-year anniversary.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And if I use the word still, please forgive me. We know that we never say we're still doing something. It's just whatever age we're doing it, we're doing it. So we'll edit that piece of the tape if I fell to that, using that word that we don't want to use. We want to get rid of the word still. But we're so glad that she is working and contributing and having a wonderful time. And Janice, again, welcome, and John. So we have some questions for you today, and then, of course, we'll, at the end, leave time for audience questions. And Christine, with my technological problems here and being on the phone, I know you'll keep me on track with time. And if somebody is raising their hand, of course, please let me know, and we can address their question at that time.
Certainly.
Okay, thank you, Christine. Our first question for both panelists is, and we'll start again with John. John, tell us about your approach to recruiting mature workers. Do you use an online applicant tracking system?
So, yes, we do. I mean, we have to run a home care agency, there's some great tools out there, and we use Clear Care, which is a customer relationship management software, and it helps us track what we're doing and who we're contacting and where they came from and things like that. Are you referring to tools like Indeed and things like that, Karen?
Yes, John, the reason I was asking about the online applicant tracking system, and again, I'll be asking Janice the same question, is because in the literature we've read, and we know this anecdotally and scientifically as well, is because many times these applicant tracking systems may have a tendency to screen out otherwise qualified applicants. And we've actually seen during the pandemic many businesses actually putting the old-fashioned help wanted signs out on the door or in the front lawn of the business. So we just wanted to find out if you have changed the way that you recruit as a result of the pandemic, or if you found that your applicant tracking system is working just fine. Thank you very much. So just a little bit about how you do recruit, and has anything changed over the last 2 years?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And yes, it definitely has changed. In the beginning, we were just trying to figure out different ways to, just meet seniors out in the community, because our approach is a little bit different. We are sometimes looking to pull people out of retirement who maybe aren't really necessarily looking for work. They may be they may like to do volunteer work or just work part-time. So we before the pandemic, we were trying to get out in the community, say, hey, we're here, we're hiring part-time, we're here to fit your schedule, we can offer flexible hours, and we can match you up. But since the pandemic, we've just had to take different approaches, just getting out there in community newsletters and just word of mouth. Really, we've gotten pretty fortunate with hiring a couple of great people, and then they're referring a friend, and that friend's referring a friend too. So it's kind of good old word of mouth is really helping us the most these days.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you for that. Janice, would you like to share your approach to recruiting mature workers, please? And again, has anything changed for you over the last 2 years in terms of recruitment?
Sure. One of the biggest changes is, doing the interviews online, via Zoom, because we certainly weren't bringing people in. Our offices were closed to the public, and the majority of our people were still working from home, with the exception of a handful in each office. So that in-person contact was the biggest change. We weren't doing job fairs and public events. We do utilize, online job boards. Waze is a great tool for recruiting part of the older generation. AARP has a job site that's also very helpful. sometimes in terms of technology, not often, I think, as many people think, but sometimes, you know, I would get a phone call or an email about wanting to do an interview, but didn't have Zoom capabilities or hadn't done it before. And, you know, we would work around that, and I would just do a phone call and, you know, set up a Zoom for later where you just literally talk somebody through it, because it is just clicking on a few buttons or having a computer or a phone or an iPad that had the video capability.
Okay, so you've been very flexible, it sounds like, and it's still allowed you to do your business, just perhaps a little bit differently with the pandemic impact of it. What would you say, Janice, in terms of retention over the last 2 years? You know, we've been all hearing about the great resignation and how people, you know, might be switching jobs. What have you found to be the situation with all of your demographic age workers over the past 2 years in terms of retention?
We didn't have a lot of turnover, and those we did were really in the younger generation. Similar to what I was saying earlier about, you know, our employee that's in their 80s. I mean, we have employees that have been there for 40, 35, 30 years, 25 years. So it's a different mindset, I think. They don't tend to change jobs as much as a younger generation, who will typically move every few years. In terms of retention efforts, we looked and did numerous pulse checks to see how people were feeling, because when the pandemic first started and everybody was sent home, you know, initially thinking it was going to be 2 weeks, it was a big change for our company, because personally because so many had been there for so long and together for so long, that's what they were used to. And they really look forward to that every day. And so to go home and you're working in your house alone, if you don't have a family or with others, was difficult. However, as time went by, people embraced it and came to like it and saw the benefits. And so we adjusted our thought and gave the option when it was time to come back, which was 2 weeks ago, is when we opened.
Okay.
You know, January 3rd. In large part to keep people safe. We do have an older workforce. We were very mindful of the risks, you know, to that population, as well as younger, you know, people or new moms. We just wanted to keep everybody safe. And we found that with technology and everything else, it didn't skip a beat. People were working. But when it was time to come back, we gave the people the option of, you know, a hybrid deal where it was a couple of days in or a couple of days home, or working full-time remote.
Do you mind sharing statistics with us, Janice, in terms of what percentage or approximately of the workforce selected the hybrid model versus working the full-time remote?
Almost 70% took the hybrid option.
Mm-hmm. So that personal contact with colleagues, and like you said, it sounds like folks felt like family, and so they wanted to be back with their family. And
it was, and they use that term a lot. You know, family. It's my work family. You know, the Plastridge family, and people wanted to get back. I actually had gone into the office Saturday to get some stuff done, and there was somebody there that I, you know, hadn't seen. And she was saying how excited she was. And she was really one of only a handful of people that, you know, kept asking, Janice, when can we come back to work? When are you going to reopen? And she was talking about how she had, you know, a grandchild, and she wasn't able to share that, you know, with everybody in person. You know, I couldn't bring in my, you know, my grandchild. And so it's different for everybody. And we had to make accommodations that not only supported our people, but also when businesses are looking at it, you have to see that it supports your business.
Well, wonderful. And it sounds like you've had some probably very almost tearful reunions of folks, I'm sure, these past 2 weeks of people finally getting to see each other again.
Yeah, it's been great.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for that. John, a question for you in terms of retention over the past years. What have you seen in terms of retention of your workforce?
Yes, and we've been very fortunate, and again, I think that is attributed to the fact that we're hiring, mature workers who are, are more, couldn't be more committed to, the staying in the position, and so we did have some turnover somewhere in the summertime, and I think people, they just wanted to rearrange their life. They were at that point where, COVID had interrupted their life to some extent, and then there was an opportunity for them to either move or get closer to family and take on other roles. So there was some of that happening. Because again, the people we're hiring are, they have their own life too, and I'm just asking for a portion of it. So I think just the way things worked out with COVID, that there was some opportunities for people to, make some major decisions about where they were going to live and what they were going to do with their time. So there was some turnover there, but otherwise, yeah, we've been, very fortunate, having very little turnover, and our clients benefit from that.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. I think we all realize, all of us during this last 2 years, we have realized how valuable a commodity time is, and employers who recognize that and are an employer of choice where people choose to spend time with, such as yourself and your organization in Plastridge. I mean, I'm sure that's part of the reason why you're not seeing as much turnover as perhaps, in the general public, so to speak. So certainly your organizations are to be commended for that. So John, you did share with us that hiring mature workers makes sense when they're serving mature clients due to shared mutual interests and values. Can you please share a story or two with us about one of your successes or two of your successes you've had with personal relationships that develop between your clients and your caregivers?
Yeah, great question, Karen. And yeah, we have a couple stories for sure. One that comes to mind is we got a call from a woman in London, and she really was trying to oversee her parents, oversee her parents in Boynton Beach, and they've been just starting to have trouble in a lot of different areas. But the biggest problem was that mom was writing checks daily to any nonprofit that would send her a mailing. So she kept writing, checks and checks, and the daughter couldn't stop it, and she was, too far away to do anything about it. So she called us, and then I reached out to one of my companions on staff, and I said, I think this would be a good case for you. Well, it was a little bit more of a good fit than I had imagined. The woman who we're caring for she had been working in banking her whole career, and she wanted to, she was proud of taking care of her own finances and that kind of thing. Well, the woman we brought in had been working in banking her whole career, and so when I introduced the two of them, they just started talking shop, and they were, giving, stories back and forth on, what their roles were and how they handled it. And what I noticed while I was sitting there is just, this woman who, the older woman who we were caring for, she was proud, but she was resistant to, getting any help in that area because she was sort of the expert. But I think as the two of them kind of got to know one another, and the woman we brought in earned a lot of trust very quickly. And so all of a sudden we were able to kind of get in there. We would do Zoom calls with the daughter in London, and we would kind of go over, the mail and the checkbook, together, and slowly but surely, problem solved. So it was really sort of wonderful to see that play out. Really lucky in some respects.
Wow. Yes, that is very important, as you mentioned, the shared interest and trust. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure the daughter, of course, was very, very relieved with that situation. Janice, we know your company employs and serves customers and clients across the age demographic spectrum. You've shared a bit about the value of your mature workers. Anything else you'd like to share about that loyalty that, again, your employees feel, and how that translates into value for your clients?
Sure, great question. I really believe that each generation brings different talents and skills to the table. Combining these different approaches and philosophies in the workplace helps to develop effective strategies to improve all areas of the business. For example, bringing in a tech-savvy younger generation, they come with fresh energy, while the older generations have rich experiences and perspectives. They end up bringing vision, wisdom, along with offering great relationship advice, empathy, and that only adds value and it helps a company thrive. There's just so much, there's a learning component, sharing, that one can bring to the other. It's, in-house training.
Well, in-house training is very important, and I think I do have a question for you both. So since we are speaking about that, anything you'd like to share in terms of what you provide for your staff in terms of development opportunities? And then I'll ask John the same question, because obviously we know if organizations invest in employees, then of course employees feel invested in their employer. So what can you share with us about development, Janice?
So we are vested in training and development for people and offer a variety of things that they can do. Some of it is industry specific, so different insurance designations. We do in-house training for updates about what's going on, within the insurance industry and market, so everybody stays current. And then there's, personal or professional development classes that they can take. We recently implemented, a new tool, and all these classes are virtual, so they can take them at their leisure. If they wanted to log on in their free time, they could do that. So it goes anything from industry specific designation courses to improving their skill set with the Microsoft features, Outlook, Excel, PowerPoint. So there's a variety of options that we make available to them that they can do, on their schedule, versus saying, okay, Tuesday from 10 to 12, here's this class. They can take these at any time, in addition to the classes that are scheduled, that are a specific webinar, that are provided, by an agency or such.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Well, I'm sure you've had good feedback and good interest in offering that since you've started it. I know you said it's rather new, but have you had a bit of feedback from staff on their usage and their enjoyment of that virtual opportunity?
Yes, they were very happy, especially with, it was interesting, one of the questions we got when we do different kind of annual surveys during the year. And one of the questions is, in terms of training and development, what do you think you need? What are you looking for? What do you want? And there was a lot about, Excel, and Word, different tips and tricks. So to have it available, they're very pleased.
Great.
And it's convenient, which is key because everybody's so busy. So to have training tools that are convenient, easy to access, is definitely a plus.
Boy, that's for sure. Well, excellent. Continued good luck with that. And John, I'd like to ask you about a bit about training and development. I know that you shared with me previously when we've chatted that you provide on-the-job training by having a new companion shadow a more experienced companion, perhaps before that new companion starts, to learn about the client's routine and preferences. And you shared that your organization might be thinking about a more formal mentoring process. What would you like to share about your OJT and mentoring, how that has helped and retention? What would you say about that, John?
Yeah, thanks, Karen. Yeah, that does really help. Some people who come to work for us, they don't have a ton of experience doing this particular kind of work. Although at times I do want to remind them that they've probably been doing it their whole life, whether they've been caring for children or taking care of their parents or things of that nature. But so they come in and the first thing they say is, I don't have experience here. And I say, well, let's go through your history and see if you have experience. And most people do. But as you were suggesting, it is about, our work is really about working with a specific person and what their particular specific needs are. So number one, yeah, when somebody can shadow one of our more experienced companions, they can sort of, see their approach and, take some refuge in the fact that, it's work that they probably are capable of doing, and they just have to learn how to approach some of our client problems. So I think that really helps. And we do, and a lot of our work is on the job training. We do a lot of back and forth even during a visit. My companions are, we're texting and calling quite often to just talk about what's going on and different ways we can help. And then what I've found is that over time, I get less texts and calls because the people who I work with are, they're highly capable in the beginning. And then after several weeks, they're like, okay, I got this. I see how this works. But I think one of the benefits of all of the work we do is professionally, they're working in this industry and they're doing great work. But I think personally, the people we hire get to see how older seniors manage, and this is kind of eye-opening for all of us. I think it's like, oh, so this is coming for me one day too. And it's really something to take note of, because we do want to have some kind of long-term care plan for ourselves. And that's really important, because we see some of the situations we get in, we're like, well, that, I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want to be in a situation where I don't get the help I need. So hopefully, the work we do is kind of, it's a lesson learned about, potentially what's coming down the road, and helps people, prepare their personal life.
Well, that's very good, that it's helping the client at the time, and it's also preparing the companion for, as you said, kind of the future and how they can best prepare for that. So thank you for that. Now, to both of you, we certainly have, you've shared many good, important points as to why a business owner or an HR professional should be very convinced about the value of mature workers and the benefits of an intergenerational workforce, as you've both shared so far. Is there anything else that you might say that we haven't mentioned that, again, would be convincing about the value of mature workers in an intergenerational workforce?
Maybe just to reiterate, I find it an untapped resource, for lack of a better word. I think in the past, people thought, that that generation is too expensive if they're switching jobs. That's not necessarily the case. You have somebody with a wealth of knowledge, and maybe in the new role they're looking to take a step back or step down from their current position because they're looking for more of a work-life balance and, not looking to do the 60-hour weeks anymore, but, still wanting to work. And they bring that to your organization. We're also in a time where people are living longer and are, healthier. And so to be able to have that as an area to recruit from, is really a bonus. Is really a bonus. In fact, I was just looking, only because we currently have all 5 generations in our workforce. And over the last 3 years, I looked at this morning, 30% of our hires the last 3 years were 50 or older.
Wow, that's exactly why you were nominated, Janice. Your organization certainly is very aware of the bonus that you just mentioned, the wealth of knowledge, et cetera. So that's a great statistic. You're to be commended for that. And John, anything else that you would share on that particular topic about advice for business owners or HR professionals who are just not quite there yet in terms of the value of mature workers?
Yeah, I think Janice made a lot of good points very eloquently. And I would add a couple things I would add. Number one is I feel like the mature workers can bring a certain passion to the work. They may see it as less of a job, less of a sort of a grind, and more something that they find a lot of meaning in. They're choosing to go back to work in some cases. So with that sort of freedom and commitment, I think you get somebody who is, really wants, really sinks their teeth into the work and is looking to, make an impact. So, that's definitely what I see, in the workers that we have on our staff. And so, and that's it. I mean, I would also, suggest this is, with seniors, especially mature workers, it's best to take sort of a strengths approach where, we get a little caught up maybe in some of these tech deficiencies and other things that are stigmas against hiring older workers. But we forget sometimes to look at, the richness of what they can bring into a position. And if we could focus on that more, I think, a lot of different organizations would benefit.
Very good and well said, John. Thank you. And I think that benefits any age demographic, the strength approach. There's many folks who very much are supportive of that and looking at the richness of what an individual can bring. Many times we read job descriptions and we're thinking, my heavens, how could any one person be all of those things? And sometimes that's something that in the HR profession we talk about the laundry list of things one must do or have already done to be considered for a position is almost, superhuman. And I like the strength approach that you've discussed, and bringing what the person and focusing on what the person can bring to the job. So, very good advice for folks hiring any age person. Appreciate that. And Janice, thank you for your words of the bonus and the untapped resource in the mature worker. It's something that's a good focus that businesses need to think about. Thank you for both of that. And both of you spoke about the fact that how important it is for people of any age in an organization to be identified and working for an organization that feeds their passion and provides them with purpose. And it sounds like both of your organizations definitely do that. Anything else you'd like to share along those lines of making sure that the passion and the purpose is front and center in your organizations and in your culture?
One of the ways we kind of keep on top of that is communication, with our employees, whether that's me just calling to talk to people and touching base, or sending out a survey to see if they're needing or wanting anything so that they're current, so that they're still engaged, and then providing your employees with the tools and the resources that they need to do their job and to do it well. That's on us as the employer.
Definitely, and communication is key, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
John, anything you wanted to share on that? I know you have spoken about the passion and the purpose. Anything else before we move to our next question?
Well, yeah, I rely on that to some extent. People we hire are working, one-on-one with our clients. I'm here getting the sort of broad view, and I don't really sometimes know the details. So, it's really, I think, as Janice said, it's about, giving the employees a voice, having them make, recommendations, and working with them when they have, thoughts on how to proceed, really. So that communication piece is huge.
John, thank you again for underscoring communication. And I think we're into our last scheduled question or two. I am checking the time here, and we want to leave time for any audience questions or comments. And one question I'd like to direct to John. John, do you see a possibility for an expansion of the Seniors Helping Seniors concept to recruit younger people interested in helping seniors? For example, it might be a college student who's also interested in flexible work hours while attending school. Is that something in the realm of possibility, or is it not within the keeping of the franchise ideals?
That's a really good question. I would say, the ideals of the franchise are finding these mutually beneficial relationships. So even though our name, Seniors Helping Seniors, highly suggests that we are, we have this one approach, I would think down the road, it would be very interesting to look into that option, because, any way we can help seniors out there who need help, is important to investigate. Plus, one of our main part of our mission is to give and to receive benefit both parties. And so I think it would benefit the young people to help out the older people and learn a little bit about life, the broad look at life from them. So, I find that to be an interesting area to consider.
Well, thank you very much. And Janice, I'll end with you to say first if you have anything else you'd like to share that was not specifically asked, and then John, let you finish up, and then we turn it back over to Christine. So Janice, anything else you'd like to share that we did not touch upon?
I just wanted to let people know where to go if you're interested and, in looking to get back into the workforce. Of course, there's all the common job boards that you're probably aware of, like Indeed and Careers Builders, ZipRecruiter, but AARP has a website. There are people 50 or older that, lots of members for that. I know that Encore promotes jobs. Wave, WAHBE. There's a number of resources out there. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, create one and add to your profile picture open for work and do a summary.
Thank you, Janice. And I know that is very important to help job seekers find age-friendly employers. So I'll ask you then, and John then next, if you have, in addition to these great ideas that you've suggested, do you have any other thoughts on how either the employer or the potential employee might be able to find each other?
I think for the employee that's looking, don't focus on your age. Don't focus on your age. You're applying for a job. You have the skill set. You have the requisite knowledge and background. So go in with that confident attitude like you would have when you were, 20 or 30 or 40. For employers, I think it's a culture. It's a culture we embrace. And so I really think for people or candidates to see that would come when you're having a conversation with them. Because of discrimination, you can't just say only 30-year-olds may apply. Your recruiting process is open to everybody.
Yes, that's very important to remind folks about that. So thank you, Janice. John, any thoughts too about how job seekers can find age-friendly employers, or just anything else in general you wanted to comment on as we come to a close here?
Yeah, I guess the only thought of it, Janice again put it so, made some great recommendations. The only thing I would suggest is, from an employer's point of view is, to be flexible, try to help potential employees, help them help you. If there's an area that somebody just needs a little bit extra guidance, make sure you can provide that. We're in a very tech-heavy world, and I guess that keeps coming back to that. But if there is, allowing people to, make a phone call, to find out more, just some more, old traditional modes of communication, keep them alive, so people at least have the option.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, thank you both. I know that we've spoken a bit at the beginning about remote work and how it's certainly been a great equalizer. Mature workers have embraced it, and all age and demographic employees have been very productive during the pandemic for those that have the option to work at home. Yet the importance of that personal connection is also must be attended to, and the importance of lifelong learning, and the fact that creativity and innovation certainly thrives in an organization with a multi-generational workforce. So we thank you for sharing your expertise and wisdom, both of you, with us today. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Christine in regards to any questions or any other wrap-up for the day today. So Christine, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both. What a wealth of information you've shared. And I love the little keywords you threw in there, which are great for marketing as well. So thank you. I love the untapped resource because that's really what who it is that Encore is meant for. And so we really appreciate both of your input. It's really some great information. I don't see any questions in the chat. And if anyone would like to ask a question, please unmute yourself. And we'll give it a minute for you to unmute. I don't see anything new. Rosemary, do you have any questions?
Of course I do.
Of course you do.
But I don't want to co-opt anybody else's time if there's somebody else has a question, because I have always a million questions.
Not seeing anyone, Rosemary, go for it.
Okay, well, I want to commend both John and Janice for companies that recognize the value of mature workers. And of course, it's our goal to continue to identify age-friendly employers here in Palm Beach County and to help connect people to them. My experience is that most people have no idea of how to connect to employers other than the job boards like Indeed and Career Builder and so forth, which are very frustrating, not only for mature workers, but for anybody trying to find a job. I mean, let's face it, a company puts a job description on Indeed and 5 million people respond. It's kind of hard to get noticed in a situation like that. So one of the things, as you probably know, we've done on our website, we've put on the job portals and other people that we can refer people to for help in finding a job. So John, your job portal is on our website. And so when people get in touch with me, I find they don't realize that there are all these resources. So I walk them through what we have on our website. And I believe very strongly in the importance of personal referral. And we will continue to support our nominees for the Wisdom and Experience Award by featuring them in our newsletters and on our website. So we have a newsletter that goes out the beginning of every month. And it would be great if both of you could get a job description of something that you're seeking to fill. Just email me at encoreppbc@gmail.com. And if you could get it to me by Friday, I will put it in our newsletter. I know that Janice, you don't have a job portal at Plastridge. You have various job descriptions, but if you could share those, I'll put them in our newsletter.
Wonderful.
It goes out to over 1,000 people. Can't guarantee anything, but I think, as you've pointed out, the informal ways of helping people find work are as important as the job boards. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I would like to commend you on also is, by focusing on the mature worker, you're recognizing the fact that we have a declining birth rate in this country. We're not manufacturing a lot of young people, and employers need to keep in mind that maybe they need to work harder on retaining their mature workers and doing more to keep them. Certainly sounds like both of you have program in place to do that. But Janice, I would like to ask you, particularly since your field of insurance does require certain certifications or education skills and so forth. Mm-hmm. When people are making a career transition after age 50, they've been in some other arena for a period of time. do you have a way of helping them enter this new area by helping them gain certificates or training before they even become, to become employees with Plastridge? I'll give you an example so you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I was in my mid-50s, and after 10 years of being in commercial banking in Connecticut, I moved here to Florida. And I wanted to develop a new career. And I was introduced to Dean Witter and the areas of insurance, health insurance, long-term care, life insurance, and investments was not an area that I was knowledgeable about or qualified for. They paid for all my training, getting licensed and so forth. Do you have a way of doing that in your arena?
We do. We recently implemented a training program that's specific to that. So it not only does training and assessment for people that we have that are versed in it, but one of the keys of this program that struck me when I was looking at different items was the ability to take somebody with no insurance background and train them into the field. And the modules are even specific in terms of, what line of insurance. Are they going to be a commercial lines person, personal lines, employee benefits? So not only do we have that training program, it also offers designations. And then, of course, we always support, the licensing requirement, because certain roles in insurance do require that you have a license.
Yeah, people talk a lot about transferable skills, but not everybody knows how to make that happen, and not every employer is willing to make the effort to make it happen. Sounds like you're doing a good job. So I would just simply ask that both of you send something to me that I could put in a newsletter of what you're looking for, help spread the word.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rose.
Okay, well, I don't see any further questions. I'd like to thank you both for your time and your input, and for supporting Encore Palm Beach County and the mature worker. So thank you both for being here. And for those in attendance, you will be able to find the recording in a few days on our YouTube channel, Encore PBC, and as well as some of our previous recordings. And Janice and John, you will both get a recording of that as well. So, and as Rosemary mentioned, our newsletter will be coming out with updates on future events. And so please join us. We have some great programming planned for the 2022 year. So we look forward to seeing more of you